Welcome to this audiobook summary of the new model of selling, Selling to an Unsellable Generation by Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Miner. If you're a salesperson, entrepreneur, or leader looking to break through the noise of today's skeptical, info-saturated buyers, you're in the right place. Over the next hour, we're diving deep into a revolutionary approach to sales, one that ditches outdated, pushy tactics for a human-centered, neuroscience-backed model that actually works in 2025 and beyond. Jerry and Jeremy, two sales legends with decades of experience, are here to show you how to stop chasing sales and start having prospects chase you. Ready? Let's get started. Introduction: a new world, a new sales frontier. Imagine it's April 8th, 2025. You're a salesperson staring out at a world that's morphed beyond recognition. Cold calls, mostly dead. Pushy pitches, they repel faster than a magnet flipped the wrong way. Buyers today don't just have Google. They've got Yelp, TikTok, and a decade of distrust baked into their DNA. Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Miner kick off the new model of selling with a wake-up call. The old ways of selling are as obsolete as a rotary phone in a Zoom meeting. They're not just broken, they're actively working against you. Jerry's a grizzled vet from the pharmaceutical world, once a struggling rep who got fired twice before cracking the sales code. Jeremy's a younger firebrand, a behavioral science geek who turned door-to-door misery into a seven-figure empire. They met when Jeremy's team hunted top sales trainers for his podcast, Closers Are Losers. Most interviewees recycled tired cliches, but Jerry? He blew Jeremy away with his grasp of human behavior. Their partnership birthed this book, a manifesto to ditch the sales pitch and embrace a human-centered model where prospects persuade themselves. The authors paint a vivid picture. Salespeople today are like Mighty Mouse in black and white, battling a Technicolor Captain America. Technology killed the old customer base, leaving us with an unsellable generation hooked on instant info. But here's the twist. They're not unsellable, just incompatible with outdated tactics. Jerry and Jeremy promise a system that's not about grinding harder, but working smarter, using neuroscience to align with how people naturally think and buy. It's a bold claim, and they've got the scars and successes to back it up. Chapter 1. The biggest problem in sales. Now, let's get to the heart of Chapter 1. The biggest problem in sales. Spoiler, it's not what you think. Jerry and Jeremy ask you to forget the usual suspects: bad leads, lack of charisma, or not enough product demos. The real culprit? It's the problem you don't even know you have. Picture a salesperson, let's call her Sarah, dialing a prospect who requested info about her digital marketing service. "Hi, I'm Sarah from XYZ Marketing," she chirps. "You asked for our packet, so let me tell you how we can boost your ROI. The prospect, Alex, hesitates. Sure," he says, already bracing for the pitch. Within seconds, Sarah's enthusiasm triggers Alex's defenses. She doesn't see it, but she's just lost him. That's the crux. Too many salespeople are blind to how their approach, rooted in old school, always be closing dogma, creates resistance. Jerry shares his own early flops. Fresh out of college with a 2.18 GPA, he bombed his first 2 sales gigs. Sitting in his car, sweating through 45 minutes of dread before a call, he thought selling wasn't for him. Jeremy's no stranger to this either. As a broke college kid in Missouri, he slogged through door-to-door sales, getting doors slammed in his face until a Tony Robbins CD sparked an epiphany. Maybe he wasn't failing because he sucked. Maybe the skills he'd been taught were the problem. The authors argue that sales isn't rocket science, it's neuroscience. People buy emotionally, then justify with logic. Yet most reps lead with facts and pressure, not feelings and questions. The biggest problem? You're stuck in a time warp, using tactics from the 1970s on buyers who've upgraded to 2025. It's like trying to stream Netflix on a Betamax. Until you see that, you're doomed to mediocre results. Chapter 2. Sales Myths versus Sales Realities. Chapter 2. Sales Myths versus Sales Realities doubles down on this. Jerry and Jeremy dismantle the fairy tales you've been fed. Myth: selling is about persuading someone to buy. Reality: it's about discovering if there's a sale to be made. Myth: you need to be relentlessly enthusiastic. Reality: that just annoys people now. They trace these myths back to the dawn of sales training. 1884, when John H. Patterson had his team memorize door-to-door scripts, or 1898, when Elias St. Elmo Lewis cooked up the IDA model: attention, interest, desire, action. Back then, buyers needed salespeople to learn about products. Today, they've got Google University and a PhD in skepticism. Take the always be closing mantra, ABC. It's the Kool-Aid of old sales gurus, but Jeremy calls it a relic of the Flintstonian era. Why? Because it assumes the prospect's ready to buy, when most aren't even sure they have a problem. Or consider Joe Girard, the 1970s car sales king who lied about vacations to bond with prospects. It worked then, barely, but today, he'd be roasted on Yelp faster than you can say fake reviews. The reality is, trust is dead in the marketplace. Buyers smell desperation a mile away, and old tricks like the assumptive close. When do you want delivery? Just make them run. The authors drop a bombshell. Your beliefs shape your behavior. If you think sales is about pushing, you'll push, and push people away. But if you redefine it as helping prospects figure out what they want, everything changes. It's not pixie dust, it's human nature. And that's where the new model starts to shine. Real-world examples, the old versus the new in action. Let's bring this to life with some real-world examples, some from the book, some inspired by its principles. First, the old model gone wrong. Meet Tom, a solar panel salesman in 2025. He cold calls a homeowner, Mike, who'd browsed his site. "Hey, Mike, I'm Tom with Solar Tech," he says, voice dripping with hype. "Our panels cut your bill by 40%. Can I swing by Tuesday to sign you up?" Mike's polite but firm. "I need to think it over." Tom pushes, "If I could show you the savings, would you commit today?" And Mike hangs up. Tom's using ABC, assumptive closes, the works. Result? 0 sale, 1 annoyed prospect. Why? He assumed Mike wanted solar, ignored his hesitation, and triggered resistance. Classic old model fail. Now, flip to the new model. Lisa, another solar tech rep, trained by Jerry and Jeremy's methods, calls Mike a week later. "Hi, Mike. This is Lisa," she says, calm and neutral. "I noticed you checked out our site. Mind if I ask what caught your eye about solar?" Mike relaxes, no pitch yet, and says, "I'm just tired of high bills." Lisa digs in. "What's it been like dealing with those lately?" Mike vents about a $300 spike. She follows with, "What's that costing you beyond the money, like stress or time?" Mike admits it's a headache. By the end, Lisa asks, "Do you feel like there's a solution out there that could ease that for you?" Mike says, "Yeah, maybe." "Why do you think so?" Mike explains it himself. Lower bills, less worry. Lisa's not selling, she's guiding. Outcome: Mike books a consult, no pressure needed. Another example, Jeremy recounts a client, a financial advisor named Rachel. Old model Rachel would pitch portfolios with stats. "Our fund's up 12%. And get, I'll call you back every time." New model Rachel? She asks, "What's your biggest worry about your retirement right now?" A prospect, Dave, says, "Running out of money." She probes, "What would happen if that kept going unchecked?" Dave paints a grim picture, working till 80. By the time she asks, "Do you feel like there's a plan that could change that for you?" Dave sold himself on her help. She lands the client, no hard close required. Contrast that with a car dealership horror story Jerry hints at. A salesman corners a couple, spouting, "This SUV's perfect for you. Let's get the paperwork started." They balk, "We're just looking," and leave. A new model rep might say, "What brought you in today?" They mention needing space for kids. "What's it been like juggling that with your current car?" They open up, and soon they're test driving, convincing themselves it's the right move. The difference? One's a push, the other's a pull. Chapter 3, Unlocking the Gatekeeper. Chapter 3, titled Unlocking the Gatekeeper, isn't about sweet-talking a receptionist. It's about cracking the toughest barrier of all, your own headspace. Jerry and Jeremy kick things off with a blunt truth. Great salespeople don't start with their product, they start with their intent. And that intent? It's not to close a deal or hit a quota. It's to figure out what's best for the customer, even if that means walking away empty-handed. This is the gatekeeper you've got to unlock, your own outdated instincts to push, pitch, and persuade. Jerry takes us back to his early days. Picture him in the 1970s, a young sales rep for Lipton Tea, sitting in his car outside a grocery store, palms sweaty, heart pounding. He'd been fired from 2 jobs already, convinced selling wasn't his thing. Why? because he'd been taught to lead with enthusiasm and product facts. Buy this tea. It's the best. And it flopped. Prospects didn't care about his spiel. They cared about their own problems. It wasn't until he shifted his focus, stopped acting like a seller, and started thinking like a buyer, that the game changed. He realized the real job was discovery, not delivery. Jeremy chimes in with his own revelation. As a college kid knocking on doors in sketchy neighborhoods, he'd memorized scripts from the old sales gurus. You know, the ones promising riches if you just smiled harder and closed faster. But after weeks of rejection, he heard Tony Robbins say, "Most people fail because they don't learn the right skills." That hit him like a brick. What if the gatekeeper wasn't the prospect slamming the door? It was his own reliance on tactics that clashed with human nature. That's when he started digging into behavioral science, setting the stage for what became the new model. The core idea here? Your mindset is everything. If you're obsessed with making the sale, prospects smell it and run. But if you're genuinely curious about their world, they let you in. It's not about unlocking their defenses, it's about unlocking yours. Real-world example. Chapter 3 in action. Let's see this play out. Meet Carlos, a rep selling cybersecurity software in 2025. Old model Carlos calls a small business owner, Priya, and launches in. "Hi, I'm Carlos with SecureNet. Our software stops 99% of breaches. Can I demo it for you?" Priya's polite but distant. Send me some info." Carlos pushes. "If I show you how it saves money, can we meet tomorrow?" And Priya's gone. He's locked out, not because she's rude, but because he's stuck in seller mode, focused on his agenda. Now, new model Carlos tries again. He dials Priya and says, "Hey, Priya, this is Carlos with SecureNet. I'm curious, what's prompted you to even think about cybersecurity lately?" His tone's neutral, not pushy. Priya pauses, then says, "Well, we had a scare last month. A phishing email got through." Carlos doesn't pitch. He asks, "What was that like for you, dealing with that?" Priya opens up, "Stressful. Took us days to sort out." By the end, Carlos says, "Sounds rough. What do you think would have made that easier?" Priya muses, "Something to catch those emails before they hit." Carlos nods. "Makes sense. Mind if we explore that a bit more?" Boom! Gatekeeper unlocked. Priya's engaged, not because Carlos sold her, but because he got her thinking. That's Chapter 3 in the wild. Chapter 4. Getting customer focused. Chapter 4. Getting customer focused builds on that mindset shift. Jerry and Jeremy argue that selling isn't about what you bring to the table. It's about what the customer puts on it. The old model says, tell them why your product's great. The new model says, ask them what's not great in their world. This is where Jeremy's neuro-emotional persuasion questions, NEPs, come in. These aren't your grandpa's "what keeps you up at night" fluff. They're sharp, specific, and designed to uncover problems the prospect might not even see yet. Think of it like this. Most buyers today aren't waiting for you to educate them. They've got Google for that. But they don't always know how to connect the dots between their frustrations and your solution. Your job? Be a problem finder, not a product pusher. Jerry recalls his pharmaceutical days, pitching drugs to doctors. He used to ramble about clinical trials and efficacy rates, yawn. Then he started asking, what's the toughest thing you're seeing with patients on this treatment? Suddenly, doctors weren't just nodding. They were spilling real pain points, like side effects or compliance issues. That's when Jerry could tie his drug to their needs, not the other way around. Jeremy doubles down with science. He spent years at Utah Valley University studying how humans decide. Hint, it's 85% emotion, 15% logic, per Dale Carnegie. Traditional sales questions like, what are your top 3 challenges? Get logical answers. Cost, efficiency, blah blah. Next, dig deeper. Try, what's it been like dealing with specific issue lately? Or how's that affecting things beyond the obvious? These pull out feelings, stress, fear, hope, that drive buying. The goal? Get the prospect to persuade themselves your solution fits, without you saying a word about it yet. Real-world example. Chapter 4 in action. Here's how it works in practice. Say you're Emily, selling HR software to mid-sized companies. Old model Emily calls a manager, Greg, and says, hi, I'm Emily with PeopleSync. Our platform cuts hiring time by 30%. Can I show you? Greg's skeptical. We're fine with what we've got. Emily tries. What if I proved it saves money? Greg shrugs. I'll think about it. She's stuck, focused on her product, not his reality. New model Emily takes a different tack. She calls Greg and says, "Hey, Greg, I'm Emily with PeopleSync. Mind if I ask, what's hiring been like for you guys lately?" Greg sighs slow. Takes forever to find good people. Emily leans in. "What's that slowness doing to your team?" Greg admits, "We're stretched thin, projects are delayed." She probes, "How's that delay hitting you personally?" Greg says, "I'm working late, stressed out." Emily nods, "Sounds exhausting. What do you think would change if that sped up?" Greg muses, "Less pressure, maybe happier staff." By the end, he's asking her about solutions, because she's customer-focused, not product-obsessed. That's Chapter 4 magic. Emily's a guide, not a hawker. Another example. Picture Mark, a real estate agent. Old model Mark shows a couple a house and says, "This place has 3 bedrooms, granite counters. Perfect for you." They nod but say, "We'll let you know." New model Mark? He asks, "What's been the biggest hassle with your current place?" They mention cramped space for their growing kids. "What's that cramped feeling doing to your day-to-day?" They confess, "It's chaos, fights over rooms." Mark says, "What would it mean if that chaos went away?" They light up. Peace, finally. Now they're imagining this house as the fix, all because Mark zeroed in on their world. Customer-focused, through and through. Chapter 5. Using the power of your voice. Chapter 5. Using the power of your voice hits you with a truth bomb. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Jerry and Jeremy argue that in today's skeptical world, your tonality is your first handshake, your first impression, your first shot at trust. Get it wrong, and you're toast before you even pitch. Get it right, and you're halfway to the sale without breaking a sweat. Jeremy starts with a memory from his door-to-door days. Picture him, 20 years old, standing on a porch in Missouri, script in hand. "Hi, I'm Jeremy, and I've got the best vacuum cleaner you'll ever see." His voice, loud, eager, salesman-y, screamed pitch coming. Doors slammed faster than he could blink. It wasn't until he studied behavioral science that he realized people don't trust hype. They trust authenticity. He started softening his tone, slowing his pace, sounding curious instead of desperate. Suddenly, folks didn't just listen, they talked back. Jerry's got his own take. In his pharma days, he'd watch reps bomb with doctors because they sounded like infomercials. Over the top, scripted, fake. He compares it to Hollywood. Think George Clooney delivering a line. It's 100% scripted, but feels spontaneous because of his tone, relaxed, confident, real. That's the goal. The authors lean on research here. 38% of communications impact comes from vocal tone, per UCLA's Albert Mehrabian. Words matter, sure, but if your voice says, "used car salesman," prospects tune out. So how do you nail it? Practice, they say. Record yourself asking a question like, "What's been the biggest challenge with that lately?" Play it back. Do you sound like a robot? Too fast? Too pushy? Tweak it. Add a pause. Lower your pitch. Let curiosity lead. Jeremy's next, neuro-emotional persuasion questions, only work if they flow like a friend chatting over coffee, not a cop grilling a suspect. Your voice isn't just a tool. It's your bridge to the prospect's trust. Real-world example. Chapter 5 in action. Let's see this in the wild. Meet Sam, a rep selling cloud storage to businesses. Old model Sam calls a prospect, Tara, and launches in. "Hi, I'm Sam with CloudPeak. Our system's the fastest out there. Can I show you?" His voice is loud, clipped, dripping with sales-y gusto. Tara cuts him off. I'm busy. Email me." Sam's tone screamed, "Agenda," and Tara bolted. New model Sam tries again. He dials Tara, takes a breath, and says, "Hey, Tara, this is Sam with CloudPeak." His voice is calm, even-paced. "I'm just curious. What's it been like managing your data storage lately?" There's a slight pause after curious, a gentle drop in tone on lately. Tara hesitates, then says, "It's a mess, files everywhere." Sam keeps it natural. "Oh, wow. What's that mess doing to your day?" His voice lifts slightly, genuinely interested. Tara opens up, wastes hours searching. By the end, she's asking him about solutions. All because Sam's tone said, "I care," not, "I'm selling." That's vocal power unlocking a conversation. Or take Jenna, a fitness coach pitching online training. Old model Jenna's voice is peppy, relentless. Hey, our program's amazing. You'll lose 20 pounds fast. Prospects cringe. She sounds like a cheerleader on caffeine. New model Jenna dials it back. Hi, I'm Jenna. What's made you think about fitness lately? Her tone's warm, steady, like she's asking a friend. A prospect, Mike, says, I feel sluggish. Jenna responds, that sounds tough. What's that sluggishness like for you? Her voice softens, empathetic. Mike spills, and soon he's signing up. Her voice built the bridge. The sale just followed. Chapter 6. Listen and learn. Chapter 6. Listen and learn. Flips the script. Stop talking, start hearing. Jerry and Jeremy call this the most underrated skill in sales. It's not passive nodding while you plan your next line. It's active, engaged, detective-level listening. Why? Because prospects don't buy your product. They buy the fix to their problems. And you can't find those problems unless you shut up and tune in. Jerry's teaching roots shine here. He'd watch pharma reps miss golden opportunities because they'd interrupt doctors mid-sentence to pitch. One rep cut off a doc saying, patients hate the taste, with, but it's FDA approved. The doc shut down. Jerry coached him. Mirror what they say, dig deeper. Next time, the rep said, hate the taste? What's that been like for them? The doc vented, compliance dropped, kids cried, and bam, the rep had a pain point to solve. Listening turned a no into a maybe. Jeremy ties this to neuroscience. When you listen, really listen, prospects feel heard, triggering oxytocin, the trust hormone. Interrupt or steamroll. Cortisol spikes, and they're out. He shares a trick from his training empire, 7th level. Repeat the last 1 to 3 words they say, then pause. It's been stressful. You say stressful? They elaborate. It's simple but powerful. Keeps them talking, keeps you learning. Add nods. Lean in. Match their energy. If they're frustrated, don't chirp like a morning show host. Sound concerned. Listening isn't just hearing words. It's decoding emotions. The authors stress, you're not a parrot or a shrink. Don't overdo it. The point is to uncover their story, why they're stuck, what they want, so you can guide them to a solution. Miss this, and you're just guessing in the dark. Real-world example. Chapter 6 in action. Here's how it plays out. Imagine Priya selling CRM software to a retailer, Dan. Old model Priya jumps in. Our CRM tracks everything. Want a demo? Dan says, we're managing okay. She barrels on, but it'll save time. Dan's gone. Her pitch drowned out his reality. New model Priya shifts gears. She asks, hey, Dan, what's managing customers been like lately? Dan grumbles, chaotic, spreadsheets everywhere. Priya mirrors, spreadsheets everywhere. Dan nods. Yeah, takes forever to find stuff. She leans in. What's that slowness costing you? Dan sighs. Missed sales, annoyed staff. Priya listens, nods, then says, sounds frustrating. What would change if that got easier? Dan paints the picture himself. More sales, happier team. He's sold because Priya heard him, not her script. Another case. Tom, a landscaper, meets a homeowner, Lisa. Old model Tom says, I can redo your yard. Great rates. Lisa shrugs. It's fine. He's stuck. New model Tom asks, what's your yard like for you right now? Lisa says, overgrown, messy. Tom echoes, messy. Lisa nods. Yeah, it's embarrassing when friends come over. Tom listens, then asks, what's that embarrassment feel like? Lisa admits, I avoid hosting. Tom's quiet a beat, then says, what would it mean if that flipped? Lisa lights up. I'd invite people again. She books him that day. Listening didn't just close the sale, it opened her up. Chapter 7. Sequence of questions. Chapter 7. Sequence of questions is where the rubber meets the road. Jerry and Jeremy introduce the backbone of their new model, a structured flow of questions that's less about interrogation and more about orchestration. This isn't random chit-chat. It's a deliberate dance, guided by Jeremy's neuro-emotional persuasion questions, or NEPs. The goal? Get prospects to uncover their own pain, see your solution as the fix, and convince themselves to act, all without you sounding like a pushy salesperson. Jeremy lays it out like a scientist, because that's how he built this. After years of trial and error, he identified 5 key question types, each with a purpose. First, connecting questions break the ice. Think, what's prompted you to look into this lately? It's casual, builds rapport. Next, situation questions map their reality. What's your setup like right now? Then, problem awareness questions dig into pain. What's been the toughest part of dealing with that? Solution awareness questions plant seeds. What would it look like if that problem went away? Finally, consequence questions ramp up urgency. What happens if that keeps going unchecked? It's a sequence, not a script. Each step flows into the next, pulling the prospect deeper into their own story. Jerry ties this to his pharma days. He'd ask doctors, "What's the biggest challenge with patients on this drug?" instead of pitching stats. One doc said, "They skip doses, too many pills." Jerry followed with, "What's that doing to their outcomes?" The doc frowned, "Slower recovery." By the time Jerry asked, "What would change if that compliance improved?" the doc was nodding, sold on Jerry's solution without a hard sell. The sequence worked because it wasn't about Jerry's agenda, it was about the doc's world. The authors stress, timing matters. Jump to consequences too soon, and you sound manipulative. Skip problem awareness, and they won't care. It's a rhythm: connect, understand, uncover, hint, amplify. Master this, and you're not selling, you're guiding. Real-world example. Chapter 7 in action. Let's see this sequence play out. Picture Maria, a rep selling project management software. Old model Maria calls a prospect, Tim, and says, "Hi, I'm Maria with TaskFlow. Our tool boosts productivity. Want a demo?" Tim's lukewarm. "Maybe later." She's stuck. Too fast, too product-focused. New model Maria tries again. She starts with a connecting question. "Hey, Tim, I'm Maria with TaskFlow. What's got you thinking about project tools lately?" Tim says, "We're missing deadlines." She moves to a situation question. "What's your team using now to manage that?" Tim grumbles, "Spreadsheets, total mess." Maria digs with a problem awareness question. "What's the toughest part of that mess for you?" Tim admits, "I'm chasing updates constantly." She hints with a solution awareness question. "What would it mean if you didn't have to chase anymore?" Tim pauses, "Less stress, faster work." Finally, a consequence question. "What happens if that chasing keeps eating your time?" Tim sighs, "More delays, angry clients." By the end, Tim's asking, "Can your tool fix this?" Maria's sequence turned a maybe into a yes. He sold himself. Or take Alex, a car salesman. Old model Alex says, "This sedan's got great mileage. Let's test drive." The couple shrugs, "We'll think about it." New model Alex asks, "What's brought you in today?" Connecting. They say, "Our car's too small." He follows, "What's it like driving that now?" Situation. Cramped, they reply. "What's the worst part of that cramped feeling?" Problem. No legroom. Kids complain, they say. "What would change if you had that space?" Solution. Happier trips, they smile. "What happens if you stick with the cramped one?" Consequence. More whining, they laugh. They're begging for the keys. Alex's questions did the work. Chapter 8. To sell or not to sell. Chapter 8. To sell or not to sell. Shifts gears. It's the gut check before the dance. Jerry and Jeremy argue that the new model isn't about forcing every prospect into a sale. It's about figuring out if there's even a fit worth pursuing. This is heresy to old school, always be closing types, but it's gold in 2025's trust-starved market. Why waste time or burn bridges on someone who doesn't need you? Jerry shares a story from his consulting days. A client pushed him to pitch a big hospital chain on a training program. Jerry met the exec, asked a few questions, and realized their team was already humming. No real pain. Old Jerry might have pushed anyway. New Jerry said, "Sounds like you've got this handled. Maybe we're not the right fit now." The exec respected that, later calling Jerry when a real need popped up. Walking away won trust and a future deal. Jeremy ties this to efficiency. In his 7th level training, he teaches reps to qualify hard up front. If a prospect's happy with their status quo or can't afford you, why flog a dead horse? He recalls his vacuum selling days, knocking on doors for hours, pitching broke college kids who'd never buy. Now, he'd ask, "What's your biggest cleaning hassle?" If they said, "None, I've got a maid," he'd tip his hat and move on. The new model's not about volume. It's about value for both sides. The trick? Use those early NEPs to test the waters. If they've got no problem or no budget, disengage gracefully. "Seems like you're set for now. Mind if I check back later?" It's not defeat, it's strategy. Sell to the right people, not every person. Real-world example. Chapter 8 in action. Here's how it looks. Say Priya is selling marketing services to a startup owner, Jake. Old model Priya dives in. Our campaign's double leads. Let's sign you up. Jake says, we're bootstrapped, no budget. She pushes, but it's an investment. Jake ghosts. She wasted time and goodwill. New model Priya starts smarter. Hey, Jake, what's marketing like for you right now? Jake says, DIY, mostly social media. She asks, what's that DIY approach doing for you? Jake shrugs. Enough, but it's slow. Priya tests. What's slow growth costing you? Jake says, not much. We're small, cash tight. Red flag. Priya pivots. Got it. Sounds like you're making it work. Mind if I touch base in a few months when you're scaling? Jake agrees. No sale today, but a door stays open because Priya didn't force it. Contrast that with Ben, a gym owner selling memberships. Old model Ben corners a prospect, Sarah. Join now. Best rates. Sarah says, I just walk outside. He insists, but our classes. She's gone. New model Ben asks, what's your fitness routine like? Sarah says, walking, it's free. What's that giving you? Enough for now. Ben senses no pain. Cool, walking's solid. If you ever want more, swing by. Sarah smiles, later referring a friend. Ben didn't sell, but he won trust and a lead. That's Chapter 8 wisdom. Chapter 9, the engagement stage. Chapter 9, the engagement stage, is the big one. Jerry and Jeremy call it 85% of the sale. This isn't the warm-up, it's the main event. Here's where you ditch the pitch and lean into questions. Those neuro-emotional persuasion questions. NEPs, we've been building toward. The goal? Get prospects to open up, reveal their pain, and start persuading themselves they need a change, all while you guide from the sidelines. Jeremy breaks it down with a fire hose of passion. He says most salespeople blow it by jumping to features too soon. Our product does X, Y, Z, and prospects tune out. Why? Because people don't buy products, they buy fixes to problems. The engagement stage is about uncovering those problems with precision. Start with rapport. What's got you thinking about this lately? Move to their reality. What's that been like for you? Then dig deep. What's the toughest part of dealing with that? These aren't random. They're sequenced to peel back layers, tapping into emotions like frustration or hope that drive decisions. Jerry's got a gem from his pharma days. He'd call on doctors, old school style, rattling off drug benefits, efficacy rates, side effect stats. Crickets. Then he switched to engagement. What's the biggest hurdle you're seeing with patients on this condition? One doc said, they're not sticking to the regimen. Jerry probed. What's that doing to their progress? Stalling it, the doc sighed. By the time Jerry asked, what would it mean if that sticking point eased up? The doc was halfway to prescribing, because Jerry engaged his world, not his own agenda. The authors hammer this. Engagement's not about you talking, it's about them. Use that curious tone, listen hard, and let their answers steer. Done right, they'll hand you the sales roadmap without you lifting a finger to sell. Real-world example. Chapter 9 in action. Let's see engagement in the wild. Meet Tara, a rep selling merchant processing to small businesses. Old model Tara calls a cafe owner, Raj, and dives in. Hi, I'm Tara with PayFast. We cut fees by 20%. Want to switch? Raj brushes her off. We're fine with Square. She's dead in the water. Too fast, too pushy. New model Tara resets. She calls Raj and starts engaging. Hey, Raj, I'm Tara with PayFast. What's prompted you to stick with your current processor? Her tone's warm, curious. Raj says, it's easy. Been with Square forever. Tara digs. What's it been like running payments with them lately? Raj admits, fine, but the fees creep up. She leans in. What's that fee creep doing to you? Raj frowns. Eats my margins. Every latte's less profitable. Tara asks, what's the toughest part of seeing those margins shrink? Raj vents. I can't raise prices. Customers will bail. By the end, Tara says, what would it mean if those margins opened up? Raj muses, more breathing room, maybe expansion. He's hooked, not because Tara pitched, but because she engaged. He's selling himself on change. Or picture Mike, an HVAC salesman. Old model Mike says, our units save energy, let's install one. Homeowner Lisa says, I'll think about it. New model mic engages. Hey, Lisa, what's your heating been like this winter? Lisa says, old unit, barely works. What's that been like for you? Freezing half the time. What's the worst part of that chill? Kids complain, I'm stressed. What would change if that stress lifted? Calmer house, Lisa smiles. She's ready to buy. Mike's questions did the heavy lifting. Chapter 10, the transitional stage. Chapter 10, the transitional stage, is the bridge. Only 10% of the process, but it's pivotal. You've engaged, uncovered pain. Now you transition to your solution without turning into a pitch machine. Jerry and Jeremy stress. This isn't the big reveal. It's a natural handoff. You take what they've told you and connect it to what you offer. Short and sweet. Jeremy's adamant. Most reps overdo this. They've got a prospect on the hook, then drown them in a 20-minute demo. Wrong. The transitional stage is about relevance, not razzle-dazzle. Use their words as your script. If they said, I'm losing time chasing updates, you say, based on that time chase you mentioned, our tool pulls everything into one dashboard. No fluff, just a direct tie-in. Then pause. Let them react. If they nod, you're golden. If they hesitate, ask more questions. Jerry recalls a pharma win. After engaging a doctor about patient compliance, he transitioned. You said stalled progress was the issue. Our once daily dose cuts that pill burden. No slides, no spiel, just a link from pain to fix. The doc said, that could work. And Jerry moved to commitment. It's subtle but powerful. The prospect's already 85% sold from engagement. This just seals the gap. The key? Stay customer focused. Don't hijack the convo with features. Match their problem to your solution, then shut up. It's a pivot, not a performance. Real-world example. Chapter 10 in action. Here's how it lands. Back to Tara with Raj, the cafe owner. After engaging, Raj's margins shrinking from Square's fees, she transitions. Raj, you mentioned those creeping fees eating your margins. Our system caps rates at a flat 1.5%. She stops. Raj says, that's lower than Square. Tara nods. Could that breathing room you wanted start there? Raj's wheels turn, he's in. No hour-long pitch, just a tight, relevant bridge from his pain to her fix. Or take Sarah, selling tutoring services. Old model Sarah says, our program boosts grades, sign up. Parent Tom says, maybe. New model Sarah engages first. What's school been like for your kid lately? Tom says, struggling in math, frustrating. What's that frustration doing at home? Fights over homework. After digging, she transitions. You mentioned those homework fights. Our one-on-one sessions target math gaps. Tom says, that might help. Sarah asks, feel like that could ease things? Tom nods, sold. The transition's a laser, not a floodlight, connecting his pain to her solution. Another quick one. Ben, a solar rep. After engaging a homeowner about high bills, he transitions. You said those $300 spikes stress you out. Our panels lock in a lower rate. The homeowner says, really? Ben nods. Bridge crossed. Sale teed up. It's fast, focused, and flows from engagement. Chapter 11, the commitment stage. Chapter 11, the commitment stage, is the final act. Only 5% of the process, but it's where the magic happens. Jerry and Jeremy kick it off with a bold stance. Forget closing. That word's a relic of the old model. Pushy, manipulative, dehumanizing. The new model doesn't close, it commits. After engaging deeply and transitioning smoothly, you've set the stage. Now, you let the prospect take the wheel with two simple, powerful questions. Here's how it works. First, you ask a neutral committing question. Do you feel this could be the answer for you? No pressure, no hype, just a check-in. Then, follow with, why do you feel that way? This isn't a trick, it's a mirror. They explain their reasons, locking in their own decision. Jeremy's obsessed with this. He says 90% of sales training teaches aggressive closes. Sign here. But that backfires in 2025. People want autonomy, not arm twisting. Neuroscience backs him up. When they justify it themselves, dopamine kicks in, cementing their choice. Jerry shares a story from his Delta Point days. A rep he coached was pitching a hospital on a training program. After engaging about staff burnout and transitioning to a tailored solution, the rep asked, do you feel this could help your team? The director said, yeah, I think so. Why do you feel that way? Burnout's killing us. This could lighten the load. The rep smiled. What's our next step? Contract signed. No hard sell needed. Jerry says it's like planting a seed. You water it with questions, they grow it into a yes. The commitment stage is short but sweet. If they hesitate, back off. Ask, what's holding you back? Adjust or disengage. If they're in, they'll tell you why, and that's stronger than any close you could force. Real-world example. Chapter 11 in action. Let's see this in action. Picture Sam, a rep selling payroll software to a retailer, Priya. Old model Sam ends his pitch with, ready to sign? It's a no-brainer. Priya balks. I need to think. He pushes, but the discount ends Friday. And she's gone. Classic close fail. New model Sam takes the commitment route. After engaging about payroll headaches, lost hours, errors, and transitioning to his fix, he asks, Priya, do you feel this could be the answer for those payroll snags? His tone's calm, open. Priya nods. Yeah, probably. Sam follows. Why do you feel that way? Priya says, it'd save time, cut mistakes. I'm tired of fixing them. Sam smiles. What's our next step? Priya says, let's set it up. She's committed, not because Sam pressured, but because she owned the why. Sale locked. Or take Lisa, a real estate agent. Old model Lisa ends a showing with, let's write the offer. Don't miss out. Buyers Tom and Jen say, we'll call you. New model Lisa, after engaging about their cramped apartment woes, asks, do you feel this place could be the answer for you? Tom says, yeah, I think so. Why do you feel that way? Jen jumps in. Space for the kids. No more fights. Lisa nods. What do we do next? They say, let's bid. Commitment flows. They sold themselves. Chapter 12. Taking relationships to the next level. Chapter 12. Taking relationships to the next level. Zooms out. It's about turning a sale into a saga. Jerry and Jeremy argue that in today's market, one-and-done deals are for suckers. Real success comes from relationships that last, generating repeat business and referrals. Mark Cuban's quoted here, business happens over years. Value is measured in the total upside of a relationship. They're not wrong. PayScale says top salespeople earn triple the average by farming, not just hunting. Jerry's all about intent. He'd follow up with clients post-sale, not to pitch, but to check in. How's that solution working for you? One pharma client loved his training so much, they called him back for 3 more projects, because he cared. He shares a tool, the calendar commitment. After a sale, ask, would it be appropriate to schedule a check-in next month? It's subtle, keeps you top of mind without begging. Jeremy's referral game is next level. He teaches a framework. Who do you know struggling with problem you solved? If they name someone, guide them. Would you feel comfortable introducing us with a quick text? Maybe say, this guy helped me with X, might help you too. He cites a client who went from 100 cold calls a day to 80% referral leads in a year. Relationships aren't fluff, they're profit. They both push ongoing training, too. LeBron doesn't skip practice, neither should you. Join their free salesrevolution group on Facebook. Tweak your skills, stay sharp. It's not just a sale, it's a system for life. Real-world example, Chapter 12 in action. Here's how relationships pay off. Back to Sam with Priya. After the payroll sale, old model Sam vanishes, onto the next lead. New model Sam follows up. Hey, Priya, how's the new system treating you? Priya says, great, saves me hours. Sam asks, would it be okay to check in next month? She agrees. A month later, she's so happy, she says, my friend owns a boutique. She's swamped with payroll too. Sam guides. Would you feel good texting her, maybe saying, this guy fixed my payroll mess? Priya does. New client, 0 cold calls, relationship gold. Or take Maria, a fitness coach. Old model Maria signs a client, trains them, done. New model Maria builds bonds. Post-program, she calls Jake. How's that energy boost going? Jake raves, best shape ever. She asks, would it make sense to touch base in a quarter? Jake's in. Later, she says, who do you know feeling sluggish like you were? Jake names a coworker. Mind shooting him a text? This coach changed my life. Jake does, and Maria is booked again. One sale spawns another, because she nurtured, not neglected. One more. Ben, a landscaper. After a job, he asks, how's the yard feeling now? Client Sarah says, love it, finally hosting. Ben secures a calendar commitment. Cool. Okay to check in next season? She agrees. Months later, she refers her neighbor. Ben's not just mowing lawns. He's growing a network. The end, but really just your beginning. As we wrap up, Jerry and Jeremy leave you with a challenge. Stop acting like a seller and start thinking like a buyer. The old model, pushing products, assuming sales, earns the average rep just $49,000 a year per pay scale. The new model? It's a ticket to the top 1%, where prospects see you as a trusted authority, not a pest. Jeremy reflects on his 12-year journey crafting NEPs, watching every word to avoid resistance. Jerry echoes that intent is everything. Focus on the customer's best interest, always. This isn't just a book, it's a mindset shift. You'll leave with 8 key question types, a 3-stage process, and a renewed belief that selling can be fun, fulfilling, and insanely profitable. The authors invite you to join their free Facebook group at salesrevolution.group for more. So what's your next step? Buckle up, because your sales journey's just beginning. The conclusion: a new mindset, a new future. Picture this. It's April 8th, 2025, and you're standing at a crossroads. To your left, the old sales path. Pushy pitches, relentless closes, a grind that earns the average rep just $49,000 a year per pay scale. To your right, the new model, a road less traveled, where prospects chase you, deals flow naturally, and you're in the top 1%. Jerry Acuff and Jeremy Minor plant their flag here in the conclusion, not with fanfare, but with a quiet, steely challenge. Stop acting like a seller. Start thinking like a buyer. That's the thread that's run through every chapter, and it's the heart of their final word. Jerry kicks things off with a look back. He's been at this for decades, fired from his first 2 jobs, sweating in his car before calls, building Delta Point into a sales training powerhouse for giants like Pfizer. He's seen the old model's heyday and its slow death. Sales used to be about convincing, he says. Now it's about connecting. He reflects on his epiphany. The moment he stopped pitching tea to grocers and started asking about their shelf headaches, his numbers soared. The conclusion's his plea: let go of the past. The unsellable generation isn't a wall, it's a mirror. Match their skepticism with curiosity, their info overload with clarity, and you'll win. Jeremy's voice jumps in, raw and relentless. He's younger, but no less scarred. Door-to-door flops in Missouri, broke and desperate, until behavioral science lit his path. 12 years crafting NEPs, obsessing over every word to dodge resistance. Built his 7th-level empire. This isn't a tweak, he insists. It's a revolution. He paints a picture. The old model's a salesman yelling into a void. The new model's a guide whispering at the right moment. His final reflection? I've watched reps triple their income because they stopped selling and started helping people buy. It's not hype. It's data from 143,000 trainees worldwide. Together, they tie the bow. The new model's 3 stages, engagement, transition, commitment, aren't steps. They're a mindset. Engage with questions that uncover pain. Transition with solutions that fit. Commit by letting them choose. It's neuroscience, not nostalgia. 85% emotion, 15% logic, per Dale Carnegie. The conclusion's their proof. Traditional sales is Mighty Mouse in a Technicolor world. The unsellable generation demands a human touch, trust over tricks, dialogue over deals. And it works. Real-world echoes and the bigger picture. They don't leave you with theory. Jerry recalls a client, a pharma rep who doubled commissions in months, asking doctors, what's the toughest part of this treatment, instead of spouting stats. Jeremy cites a software rep who flipped cold calls to 80% referrals, building relationships that paid off for years. These aren't flukes. They're the new model in the wild, from cubicles to boardrooms. The conclusion's littered with these echoes, proof that this isn't a book, it's a movement. But it's bigger than sales. Jerry muses, this is how you influence, period. Parents, teachers, leaders, anyone who wants a yes can use this. Jeremy nods. It's human nature, weaponized for good. They're not just talking quotas. They're talking connection in a disconnected age. The unsellable generation, armed with Google, scarred by scams, craves authenticity. Give it to them, and you don't just sell, you thrive. Your call to action. So where does that leave you? The conclusion's not a pat on the back, it's a shove forward. Jerry and Jeremy don't mince words. You've got the tools. 8 question types, a 3-stage process, a new lens. Use them. Jerry's voice softens. Focus on their best interest always. Intense everything. Jeremy's fiercer. Practice it. Record yourself. Tweak it. Own it. Top performers don't coast. They invite you to their free Facebook group, salesrevolution.group. Join, learn, evolve. This isn't a one-read wonder. It's a lifelong shift. They leave you with a stat that stings. The average salesperson scrapes by, but the top 1%, the new model masters, live differently. Why not you? Jerry asks. Jeremy doubles down. Selling can be fun, fulfilling, insanely profitable, if you do it right. The conclusion's their handshake, part challenge, part promise. Stop chasing. Start guiding. The unsellable generation's waiting, not to be sold, but to buy on their terms. You're ready. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.